Hey everybody. Let me clear my throat because we're about to have a great conversation. I am here with two really good friends who I've had the opportunity to meet over the past 2 years who are doing some great work in St. Louis. So I wanted you all to first introduce yourselves. So can you tell us your names?
Sure. I'm Vanika Spencer. I am the Coco in Coco and Cumin.
I am Sapna, Bhakta, and I'm the Cumin in Coco and Cumin.
And so, y'all, tell us a little bit behind the name of Coco and Cumin, first to start off with that.
So we were on a road trip a couple years ago in Kansas City, or traveling to Kansas City, and we were just like, first of all, we called ourselves Van and Sap. That's what we used to do. We'd be saying Van and Sap featuring Coco and Cumin. Presents Coco and Cumin featuring the artist. So we were just like, you know what, let's just cut Van and Sap, and we started going with Coco and Cumin. But we wanted a name that both represented who we are and our natural elements and what, felt comfortable to us. And we just ended up loving the name so much that that's what we ended up going with.
And also, like, for the culture, like, we say that a lot, but I think that exemplifies, like, for the culture. So what is most important to me about you all being here is that I find a relationship between you and MTUG and that you all are both doing community work. And when I say community work, I mean you're putting your efforts and your talents back into the community. So can you tell us a little bit about Coco and Cumin and what you do?
Yeah. So Coco and Cumin is a concert series that focuses and solely highlights musicians of color in the St. Louis area and allows them to get in front of audiences that they have never been exposed to. We know that St. Louis is very cliquish, right? A lot of times you need an invitation to go somewhere or to try something new. And so Coco and Cumin helps to break down those barriers and allows for people who are doing great work as musicians to be in front of people who haven't seen them before so that they can gain traction in what it is that they're doing and support them and create this collective community within Coco and Cumin and beyond with whatever it is that they're doing out in the world.
That's awesome. And so tell me a little bit about how long Coco and Cumin has been in existence.
So we've been doing this for a couple years now. We're ending our second season, which a year is our season. And we've had some amazing artists. So the first year we have just asked friends of friends to recommend artists of color here in St. Louis. And we started off in our living rooms, and like we were just doing this for fun. We still are, but we just had 20 or some people come into our living rooms and just watch this artist, and we just had so much fun with it. And also the audience connected so well with these artists that we just kept going and going and going, and it turned into this wonderful active community for that audience, for the artists, and for ourselves to be all part of this one good collective. And it did such wonderful things, and I don't know what to say, but we've been loving doing this. But now we're going into artists, people of color spaces beyond just our living rooms now. So we're asking Black and Brown community members here in St. Louis if they have venues open that would be able to host us beyond just our living rooms, because it's getting bigger.
Yeah, so the thing I appreciate about y'all is you literally created a community from scratch. You two are both transplants, so you're not originally from St. Louis. So can you talk to me a little bit about how that feels, leaving one community and coming into a community that's different, but you all have built something so strong and so beautiful. Was that hard?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and Sapna is from Toronto. And we both came here for different reasons, but St. Louis has really embraced us as a family. And when we were going to different music venues, we weren't seeing people headlining who looked like us. And that was an issue, and that was a concern for us. We started out, as Sapna said earlier, with just friends of friends performing for Coco and Cumin. And so just that community right there of different people reaching out to say, hey, I know this person would be great for this opportunity. You should give them a call. it wasn't that difficult. People really gravitated toward us into what it is that we were doing. And so the family was created amongst just a small population, and then that has grown into something bigger. And we're excited to expand that family into the MTUG family as well. Our concert series is very intentional. We're choosing this subset of musicians because they're underrepresented and they're not given venue opportunities the way that their white counterparts are. And we feel like that's unacceptable. And so, you know, Black and brown people, when things are not what they should be, we create it for ourselves. And so that is why Cocoa and Cumin exists. And we're excited to move into our third year and even being more intentional, understanding that we've outgrown our living rooms. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. That means that people are loving it, people are seeing the value in it, and understanding that we need to move forward. And so we want to move into Black and brown spaces to help elevate the commerce and business communities as well.
That's amazing. And like, I was talking to you last night, and I was talking about kind of like the parallels that I see between Cocoa and Cumin and between MTUG. We started out in the basement of a community center, and we grew for the people we love. So you were able to create intentional community. You brought people literally like into your home, into your living room. And one thing I love about you all is they feed us for the concert series, and all of their food is like themed based off of Cocoa and Cumin. So I've had like some awesome like chocolate bars that you made from scratch. There's always like a lovely assortment of wine. You had like tapas at the last event. Like, I think a huge thing with communities of color is realizing like feeding each other is like a part of community as well. And like you provide like that safer space for folks. So I really appreciate you bringing up the topic of creating like intentional spaces. Can you talk a little bit more about creating intentional spaces and purposely what you are doing in St. Louis to reach out to anybody who may be watching who has like a Black or a brown space that we can use, or like even if for folks who maybe want to come to a Cocoa and Cumin event but don't feel like they have that community or have that community to reach out to, like what can you do to like get in touch with y'all?
Yeah, so with this intentional community, something that we're doing, or that we do all the time, is whenever we are booking a musician, we have a preliminary conversation with them to make sure that they feel comfortable in the space, understanding that it's their show, right? It's their opportunity to share their story with the audience the way that they want to. We're not there to police, we are there to facilitate.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
So we let them come in, and we let them basically create their home environment, the way they feel most comfortable. And then that way they feel that just like they're communicating with the audience in just a very personal and intimate way. And I think that really helps build that gap between the people who are watching and the people who are playing. And it also builds our I guess it just like opens the door for all of us to be there and to have them gain traction and gain followers, and just talk to them more personally and talk about their music, the behind the scenes kind of music, like what made them want to write this song, like what made them even get started. And I think like having those questions out there really makes the whole thing come together.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So you're creating that intentional space. You're creating that community. You've opened up your homes, but now you're opening up
Conversation,
intentional, like important conversations that people need to be having about who is being acknowledged and what type of music we're listening to and what access as folks of color that we have in this community. So you all are like revolutionizing our city. So St. Louis is special to so many folks, and it's special to me because I see folks like you who are out there putting in the effort and doing the work to make this city a better place. Can you tell me like why St. Louis specifically is important to you?
St. Louis is our home. We built this on our own, if that makes any sense. Like coming in and forcing that door open for both of us to like just be like, hey, we're here. We love this space. We love this city. We love the people. Our friends are like the best thing that's ever happened to us here in this city. And just I guess to speak for myself, my whole 20s was St. Louis. And I think that was such a great decade of like, I'm growing, I'm finding who I am, who I want to be around, finding the people that I love and want to like spend like my forever with. And that really is a special connection to this city, at least for me.
Yeah, and I moved to St. Louis when I was 18. I graduated from UMSL and left the city for a while and then decided I needed to come back.
They always come back.
I wasn't done with St. Louis. I was not ready to leave this city, these communities that I had built, my mentors that have fully embraced me and loved me and taken care of me in so many different kind of ways. I knew that I needed to come back in the space, in the capacity that I had, or that I have now, so that way I can give back, so that we can give back. And Cocoa and Cumin is a love letter to the city.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful. A love letter to the city. So you've created intentional community, you've maintained community, and you're moving on into this next year. So before we end, because we only have like a little bit of time left, can you tell folks how to get into contact with you, and especially like having a platform for QT Pop artists to come and like perform, and now you're part of this MTUG family. Tell us how to reach out to y'all on social media, like where to find you, how to get in touch with you.
So we are on Instagram, the Insta, and you can DM us and follow us at Cocoa and Cumin. We're just mainly on that platform. We're not anywhere else, but not yet. Yeah, we're building a website soon, so TBD on that.
Yeah, and we will have a submission process for new musicians for 2020 and venue spaces that's coming out in mid-December. So keep a lookout for that on our Instagram page. And like Sapna said, if you have any questions at all about what we do or how you can help support, just DM us and we're happy to answer.
Thank you for speaking with us today, y'all. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Y'all, this is the first one I've done in this room today. So your support is vital to our liberation, to trans expansive liberation. You all being here, using your platform to speak on our telethon and to say that you are here for us, to provide us a space to grow and flourish and continue to build community in St. Louis is important. So we wanted to present you with this on behalf of the St. Louis Metro Trans Umbrella Group to put in whatever space you want, because you are helping us on our path to liberation as allies and accomplices and creating safer spaces for trans expansive folks throughout St. Louis.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yay.
All right, we're back in the big room. We're in the last, 35 minutes of our telethon. Here we go, y'all.
Let's do it.
Look, do you love a trans expansive human? Do you want to center trans expansive work in the metro area? Do you want to support a grassroots organization that supports 150 to 200 people a month on a budget? Our last year's budget was $108,000. We do an enormous amount of work with $108,000. Help us reach our goal. It's time. This is it. This is the time. Give us your money. Call your friends to tell us to give your money. Let's try to reach our goal and center the work of trans expansive folks, center trans leadership. It's time. Let's do it. 10% of the proceeds go directly back into the community in a micro grant to support trans and queer people of color in the metro area. We are leveraging our power and our privilege to support our most marginalized folks. It's time. It's time to twist. It's time to turn. Let's do it. All right, y'all. What are we at? A little bit over 25? 25.5, right? Let's get it. Denir's going to entertain us. Get your friends, call your friends, text your friends. Let's get up to that. Let's get up to that $30,000 mark, y'all. All right, let's do it. Here we go. All right, this is Denir, a thinker and a doer with too many titles to name. Allow me to introduce Denir.